Well, from 85 to 94, the Mobile Wellington Street Race has been one of the highlights of the motor racing calendar, thrilling the fans here in New Zealand with the thunder from down under. But it's been a break of 2 years since we've seen this site, the magnificent Wellington waterfront, about to rock around the dock with the roar of the V8 supercars back in town for the first time in 2 years. Wayne Munro, absolutely, positively fantastic to see these cars back in Wellington.
Hey, sure is, Clint. A couple of years ago when the street race started to falter, and last year when it was off altogether, you kind of wondered whether there was a possible comeback. Well, these guys are here. The sound fantastic, they look sensational, and that noise reverberating around the city streets is just incredible. And yesterday's qualifying, Clint, I've never seen anything like it. 1/1000th of a second between John Bow on pole and Paul Radisich, the Kiwi guy, came back from England with his Ford Mondeo. Incredible performance.
Yes, John Bow with the 118.91 grabbed the front row of the position for the grid, which is going to be crucial in these sprint races. Paul Radisich, a 118.92, right alongside him in the front row of the grid. The first of the Commodores, Larry Perkins in the Castrol Commodore, starting from position 3. A great drive to grab that spot. And alongside him, Glenn Seaton, Mr. Smooth of the Australian Touring Car Championship. And then, of course, we've got Neil Crompton doing a great job getting up there in position 5 in the Coca-Cola Commodore. And Greg Murphy, the #1 Kiwi star in that #1 Mobile Holden Racing Team Commodore, one of the supercars from this year's championship. Two of the legends of the Australian Touring Car Championships right alongside each other in 7 and 8, Dick Johnson and Peter Brock in the 05 Commodore. That's followed by the second of the Castrol cars, Russell Ingall, and then Alan Jones, remarkably the quickest in early qualifying, fell off the pace and will start from position 10 in his Ford Falcon. And rounding up the rear of the grid, we have two of the big stars, of course, Tony Longhurst, who's won here before back in '92 in the BMW, now back with his Ford Falcon, and Wayne Gardner in the second of the Coke Commodore, starting from position 12. Just great to see him there, actually, after the big rebuild for both of the Coke Commodores in Hamilton during the week. So it's fantastic to see both these cars in the starting lineup for the first of the 20-minute sprint races, and the Kiwi fans are just looking forward to seeing these guys unleash these mighty Aussie V8s.
Well, it pulled 25 to 30,000 people. That's a record crowd here on the Wellington Street Circuit just to see and hear these guys at work. Johnny Bow, the little details there, tell us about him. Of course, he's the Tasmanian. We like him over here in Kiwiland. He's been here lots of times, looking for his first win, though, today on the Wellington streets.
Ready now, waiting for the green light. John Bow and Paul Radisich. And it's going to be that awesome dive straight down to the chicane. It's going to be magnificent to see how these cars handle the start for the Mobile Wellington Street Race of '96. They've got the red. They've got the green. John Bow gets a great start. Look at Larry Perkins down the inside. Radishich's got a shocker. John Bow, Perkins, Neil Crompton right up there too. Peter Brock caught by the tyres in the 05 Commodore. That's the chicane we've all been talking about. Not a bad start. They got away pretty cleanly, except for Peter Brock.
Oh, Bow and Perkins were absolutely picture perfect, and Neil Crompton, but poor old Paul Radisich, as we thought, he's used to kicking into life a Ford Mondeo in the British Touring Car Champs, not a great big Falcon V8. He hasn't been in one of these things for a couple of years, so he got bogged down at the start.
Now, of course, the key thing for Paul Radisich is we take a look again on the Iowa replay, and there's Peter Brock wrapped up in the tyres, and those tyres are going to be a major problem for these big V8s, a real handful around the Wellington waterfront. This is the waterfront part of the circuit as they wind back around towards the hairpin, a very tight hairpin too. Remember, during practice, John Bow had to do a 3-point turn around the hairpin.
Well, Dickie Johnson couldn't even get around it, but Johnny Bow taking the hairpin now. You will have noticed a yellow flag and a green flag as we go in car with Glenn Seaton in the Ford Credit Falcon, roaring down the main street of Wellington, or one of the main streets, Jervois Quay, around the chicane, down pit straight, pits off to the right there. Now this is right down by downtown Wellington, the town hall, just off to the side of the chicane here as they take down Cable Street.
And of course, the infamous bumps of Cable Street have barely been what they term as the car killer in the past on the streets of Wellington, as we go on board with Paul Radisich and the Falcon. But when I went for a black, one of the lucky guys to go for a ride in car with Paul Radisich, it's such a tight, twisty circuit. It's really stop-go these days. You only get a chance to wind up the V8 to about 4th, and then you're hard on the brakes, hard on the gears. It's going to be a real challenge for these guys behind the wheel today.
Yes, well, this revised Wellington Street Circuit, because it is cut short down to just over not much more than 2K, it is basically all there's room for on the Wellington waterfront. And unless there's some major freedoms allowed by the city in the future to let it slip into some of the main thoroughfares, well, basically this is what we got. But it hasn't been met with a great deal of approval, as we found out Friday night when the guys just could not get around this corner.
And of course, Larry Perkins, who's the safety rep for the drivers, he basically said, well, no changes to the street race. We won't take the chicanes out. They're there for safety purposes. The FIA have ratified them. They'll stay here for the weekend. We may look at changes perhaps next year. And of course, it's the same for all the drivers as we go on board. Peter Brock and the famous 05 Holden Commodore trying to catch up from the rest of the field, Brocky.
Well, Brocky, of course, qualified only 8th after he had a bit of a moment in qualifying yesterday or earlier, had a bit of a spin just testing out the one of the corners around the waterfront, very, very tight chicane. But Brocky in the customary 05 now just negotiating out to a hard left, right on the waterfront. This is on the edge of the harbour. One of the big allied movers, Pacifica shipping boats, pulled alongside there. They, of course, in full support of Radisich and Alan Jones. That's their team sponsor. So lots of big cheers go up for Jonesy and Radisich as they roar past that part of the track.
One of the fantastic speed shots on the circuit here by the 3 Sport team. Whoa, Gardner getting a little bit wide coming out of that corner. But as the freight train winds around now back towards the hairpin, I suppose, Wayne, the big question is who's going to have, I suppose, the big ones big enough to try and go for a passing manoeuvre around this hairpin from hell?
Hey, I don't know, because there's just not too many places to try it on. Back on board with Glenn Seaton. Check this out. This could be a passing possibility, they reckon. I don't like the look of it myself. Down here to the next chicane is maybe another one. So far we haven't seen it happen all weekend with other classes. And down the bottom of Cable Street, where they're headed right now, is maybe another one. But hey, they're all pretty tight, pretty mean. If you make a little mistake, the walls are going to jump out and bite you.
Fantastic shots on board the Ford Credit Falcon of Glenn Seaton. This is as close to the Wellington waterfront as you can get, racing around the streets of Wellington with a great Aussie V8. Just listen to the sound of it.
Well, you can hear he's not getting too far up in the revs, and this is one of the things the guys just don't like very much. It's hard on the gear, hard on the tyres, and of course hard on them. The guys are hopping out of the cars after each practice session yesterday, really wrung out, because this is really hard work. You've got to be right on it. As you can see, there's scarcely any runoff room, and trackside there's just walls either side.
Oh, getting very close there, Seaton. Warming up, looming up, and great shots here from the 3 Sport team. Great shots looking back from the bumper of Paul Radisich. That's the high-speed chicane down the back straight. And as you can see there, stretching out his lead over Glenn Seaton. Now Seaton closing up through that chicane under brakes. Welcome back to the streets of Wellington. And it's still John Bow leading the first of the 20-minute sprint races with the V8 supercars here today on 3 Sport and right around the 10 network in Australia. Great to have the great Aussie V8s back on the streets of Wellington again for this waterfront showdown. And it really is turning out to be a case of trying to catch the man who set pole, John Bow, who's cleared away from the field. And the rest of the freight train, Wayne Munro, been held up by LP, Larry Perkins.
Yes, well, Larry brought his older Holden Commodore over to New Zealand, the same car he ran at Bathurst this year, thinking that he might get some advantage on the bumps, which are both at Pukekohe and around the street circuit. But as there's view from Greg Murphy's in-car shows in the one mobile Holden race team car, he's caused a big traffic jam. Now, that's no reflection on Larry. That's not to say he's doing anything wrong. He's going about his business as quickly as he can, but while Johnny Bowers got up and got away, he's now got jammed up behind him this row of 6 or 7 guys looking for every which way to try and get by, and there's no way.
John Bow there with the fastest lap, a 1:19.7, which is actually a little bit slower than what they did in qualifying. Well, certainly a little bit slower than what JB did in qualifying, with a sensational time of 1:18.91, and that's why we knew that all-important shootout for pole was going to be so crucial. And look at this, Greg Murphy in the #1 car looming up there like Jaws. Oh, and don't they sound great, these great Aussie V8s. Now you're looking back from the bumper of Paul Radisich. So we've gone from Seaton's car to Radisich's car with a Murphy sandwich. Greg Murphy trying to make a move in the #1 Mobile Holden Racing Team Commodore. So tight around the Wellington waterfront, and these drivers are going to be working very hard behind the wheel. Now they're coming down towards the hairpin. Is Greg Murphy having a look down the inside? Still nowhere to pass. But he's having a good look at Paul Radisich and the Allied Movers Ford Falcon.
Murphy was one of the fastest guys around this circuit yesterday, but of course he had that problem when he backed his mobile car into the wall, locked the brakes, backed it in, caused quite a bit of damage, set him back substantially. So at the end of qualifying, he ended up down the rows a bit, but shows every sign at the moment of being the only one in this field who's really on a charge. Out front, Johnny Bow getting away. Look at the gap he's got now.
That really is a very handy cushion over Larry Perkins. Still holding up this freight train of Aussie V8s around the waterfront. Here they come again. Larry doing a great job in second spot. They reckon when he dinged the car at Pukekohe, for this way it's actually bent the right way, the big ding in the door, and he decided to leave it there to intimidate the other drivers.
So Greg Murphy once again looming up behind Radisich as they take to the waterfront. No love lost between these Kiwis, not that they don't like each other, just that they want to beat each other. Just the same as it is for any race driver probably, but Radisich, of course, the 34-year-old out of Britain, twice won the Super Touring Car World Cup. Here comes Murphy! Oh, straight inside of him. Let's see what happens as they come out of this one.
Oh, and he's got caught on the hairpin. He had a good look down the inside and he's had to park the Holden. Now he spins it back into action. Wayne Gardner also burning a bit of rubber.
Talk about a chain reaction there, Clint, down at the hairpin. Murphy tried that inside dive down on his countryman, got caught on the chicane. Here we go with the Ira replay. Check it out. There's Murphy, gets virtually stuck. Look at, in fact, he stops. He's lost the engine, fires it up again. Russell Ingall pulls in the Castrol Commodore. Johnson on the outside. Brocky all jammed up there.
Well, it looks like they were queuing up for tickets for the Sydney Olympics in the year 2000 because they all had to put on the old brakes and stop around what they nicknamed the hairpin from hell, and that's why it is so tight.
You tell me what they just nicknamed the kid.
Here he is.
Never mind the hairpin.
This is the Kiwi kid. They've got rid of Craig Lowndes, and then, of course, this boy teams up with Craig Lowndes to win Bathurst. Greg Murphy, the Kiwi. And, of course, Larry Perkins now, the number 11 Castrol Commodore, doing a fantastic job. Right behind him, Neil Crompton, two of the surprise guys who did a great job in qualifying. There's Larry Perkins, smoking a bit of rubber. Will Crompton try and make a move on the inside of Larry?
Well, I think Neil's got his work cut out, really. That car took a big biff at Pukekohe, as we've already said. I think he did a sensational job to qualify it this high up, as he did in getting off the line so smartly behind Larry and Johnny Bow. And big rap for Neil on this start. This is a great performance, considering he's only done a few races this year. This has been excellent, but I don't think he's going to find a way past Larry in a hurry.
Yes, Neil Crompton unlucky 13th in the Australian Touring Car Championships, but, and of course, smacked and had lost his position at Pukekohe with the big dip, but doing a fantastic job around the streets of Wellington where he has raced before. Larry Perkins also, he was second here back in 1988 in a Holden Commodore with Denny Holm, the late great Kiwi champion Denny Holm, our Formula One king. But of course at the moment the Formula One king of Australian motor racing, Alan Jones, back down the pack. Last lap now, John Bow with a 6-second advantage over Larry Perkins. Will they finish the way they start? I tell you what, JB in the Shell Falcon, he's determined to do it today, and he's doing it in great style.
Well, Johnny Bow, I mean, this has been a great race for him. He's been able to conserve the tyres a bit, got that break right from the start, got away there. The big question is, can you pass anybody around the circuit? And that's the story that's going to have to be seen in the later races.
And it's Dunlop, Dunlop, Dunlop in the battle for the tyres. Johnny Bow wins the first of the V8 Supercar sprint races on the streets of Wellington. Larry Perkins seconds, Neil Crompton third, followed by Radisich, Seaton, and then Greg Murphy. That's the top 6. Then comes Ingle, Johnson, Jones and Brock. But it's this man, the terror from Tasmania, doing it in style today, Johnny Bow. There's the 05 man, Peter Brock. He is a legend around here, a 2-time street race winner. Knew he was struggling off the pace today, but still very happy to be racing here with the Aussie V8. So confirming the result of race 1, John Bow first, Larry Perkins second, followed by Neil Crompton, and then Paul Radisich in the top 4.
You certainly didn't stick around to see what happened.
No, mate. I mean, I got a very good start, which is most unusual for me, and I put in some very good early laps and then tried to conserve the rear tyres. The tyres were getting quite squirmy. The rears, the fronts were great.
You were out of here.
I was gone. I was gone, absolutely. And I'm very, very happy to have done it.
Well,
welcome back to 3 Sport, and here they are lining up the way they finished race 2, the way they started race 1. Will there be any racing room, any manoeuvring room to get that lucky passing move? Well, it won't take long before we find out, because John Bow, once again, starting from the front row of the grid in the Shell FAI Racing Falcon. Larry Perkins right alongside him in the Commodore. Then it's Neil Crompton in the Coke car, followed by the first of the Kiwi stars, Paul Radisich in the Ford Falcon for the Allied Movers team. On the next row of the grid, Glenn Seaton with that magnificent Ford Credit Falcon, followed by Greg Murphy. Very, very quick in that race, tried to make a move, but came to grips at the hairpin. What will he cook up this time? Russell Ingle moves up to starting position number 7 alongside Dick Johnson. Peter Brock fell back in the pack to start from 10, just ahead of him, and alongside of him on row 5, Alan Jones. And rounding out the last part of the grid, Wayne Gardner and Tony Longhurst.
Well, Tony Longhurst not too happy with his time here, because, of course, he started off the weekend at Pukekohe looking like he was going to be a real contender, but looks like his choice of Yokohama's a bad one. They're in the starters' hands. They've got the red. Wait for the green.
They've got the green light. John Bow gets another flyer from the start. Larry Perkins down the inside. Neil Crompton. Oh, Larry Perkins. He's hit the tyre wall. He's going nowhere. And the rest of the field have said goodbye to Lazar. Oh, that's tragedy.
Poor old Larry, he just got stuck there. I don't believe he even got shunted into it. He just got jammed in, nowhere to go. What else to do but sit there and wait for everybody to go away? Got a bad start off the line, as you'll see from the Iowa replay. Pulls in behind Johnny Bow, but down the inside, Neil Crompton's already there. No room for Larry.
Great start by Crompton, Radisich, and then Seaton. And I know that Larry Perkins has been leading the control tyre debate, but I don't think he expected to be controlled by the tyres that time. Perhaps they might be controlled tyres on the chicanes there. They might have been using a whole stack of Dunlops. I suppose in his case, they'll be saying they've got to be Bridgestone or Yokohama.
For a second I thought there, Clint, we had a pace car, but that's actually just the tail end car. And Larry just rounding him out as we take the view from Glenn Seaton's car. First time down to the northern hairpin, tracking around there in the big Falcon. Great views of the Wellington City streets that are jammed with people today. Come to see and hear these Aussie V8s and the legends behind the wheel. And, of course, a couple of Kiwis thrown in for good measure.
Well, we had that 2-litre flirtation a couple of years ago. It didn't really work. but it just goes to show you, if you give them the right formula, the formula is the V8 showdown between the great Aussies Holden and Falcon, and the fans turn up in their drives to check him out. And this is the view that Greg Murphy almost scrapes the paint off the Castrol Commodore in the mobile Commodore. Greg Murphy doing a great job there to avoid Larry Perkins, who was parked behind those tyres from the start.
And look at the man out front again, Johnny Bow, taking that chicane on the Wellington waterfront and getting away from the arch rivals. Neil Crompton holding down the next spot. Oh, in the pit lane, Larry Perkins after that disaster off the start line. Well, quite a bit of damage.
So Larry Perkins, they couldn't find a way around him in the first race, but it's taken just the first chicane for the entire field to pass him. So I suppose they'll be feeling very happy that they've got that freight train freed up for race 2. But of course Larry Perkins, well, there's nothing he can do now. Just get back into the race. John Bow out in front, racing on the Dunlops. The big question is, will the tyres last? He was saying the rears were starting to go off at the end of race 2, but he's still got a very handy gap at the start of the field. There's the gap back to Neil Crompton, followed by Radisich. So it's Falcon, Commodore, Falcon, Falcon.
1 point, these guys are just looking out the back of the Mobil 1 car, watching as Russell Ingall looming up behind him there. This is going down Cable Street. Wait for the hard left they take here.
The stop-go part of the circuit, you just wind up the great Aussie V8, then you're hard on the brakes again, going through the gears.
Well, as you can see, there's really nowhere to get really wound up on this track. As Clint said before, 4th gear is maximum around here, and it's a lot of 90 left, 90 right. No great flow to it. This is in car with Paul Radisich, the Kiwi who's twice won the World Super Touring Car Cup.
That's the shot looking back at Glenn Seaton chasing the Radisich. Oh, moment there for Dick Johnson. He smoked up the tyres in the Shell Falcon, and he's come to grief at the chicane round the back straight. Let's take a look in the Iowa replay. He just gets it a bit too wide and he can't go all the way. He just has to basically, oh, well, that's one way to move the chicane, I suppose. Just give it a quick shut.
Well, Dickie, this is exactly what they wanted done with that chicane, actually. But Dick's gone about it the wrong way. I can't help feeling they were trying to get the officials to move him out of the way, and the answer was no, they'll stay the way they are. Makes it a very tight corner, and Dick seemed to just get too late on the brakes there, got caught out, probably on the marbles that are developing on that corner, and just straight into him.
The Ford credit Falcon of Glenn Seaton. Very smooth driver. Look at the racing lines around here on the walls of Wellington. There's been some huge smashes, some huge pranks, and a huge move by Greg Murphy down the inside in the Commodore. He's taken Glenn Seaton. That's a sensational passing manoeuvre.
Fantastic move by the kid. That really is amazing, and you wait and hear the Wellington crowd is going off. I can hear it even in the commentary position. The guys are on their feet and screaming for the local boy, but I think Glenn Seaton really decided that discretion was the better part. Murph was all over him for quite a while, and he just really gave him a bit of room. Watch this.
On the Iowa replay, and it's this is the view from Radisich's car looking back at Seaton. Seaton went out wide, and yeah, he did give the Kiwi the racing room, but a great move by Greg Murphy, now up to 4th, and he's putting the pressure on Radisich in 3rd.
Well, zooming in there, it looks like Neil Crompton is the man this time holding up the freight train. Right behind him, Paul Radisich, now Murphy, and of course right behind him, Glenn Seaton.
Greg Murphy, a fantastic job in the #1 Commodore at Pukekohe. 3 from 3, took over from Craig Lowndes, the kid that he shared victory with at Bathurst this year. This is the view from Murphy's car. Look how close. Oh, pull up to the bumper, baby. That gives him a bit of a nudge.
Yeah, just a little tap, just to let him know he's around there, you know, and he's the next on the list. But Paul Radisich won't be easily intimidated, I can tell you that. And Murphy just still, this is a view from Radisich's car, looking back as they head down Jervois Quay. This is one of the main thoroughfares in Wellington. To close it down causes mayhem in the city, a bit like Adelaide when Grand Prix time was on there. But boy, the Wellington people have taken to this race in such a huge way this year. She's guaranteed for the future, I tell you.
Murphy, of course, that brilliant drive of Pukekohe. He was under pressure to come out and do the business for the Holden Racing team. He did it with part one of the Mobile Auckland sprints of Pookie. Now he's under pressure because remember he had that big prang in practice too. They did a great job to rebuild the rear of the car, and it was around about this part of the circuit where he put it into the Armco. But now he's really starting to muscle up on the Ford Falcon of Paul Radisich. The two Kiwis determined not to play second fiddle to the superstars of the Aussie Touring Car Championships.
Look at Murphy, in the pit lane. This is Alan Jones' car, and that looks pretty terminal. You see the Stone boys checking it out there, but didn't look too good to me at all.
Well, getting it up on two wheels, Paul Radisich, and the funny thing was that Alan Jones in practice, he actually went out and was doing the fastest times in the first two unofficial sessions down the inside. Oh, check this out, two Kiwis, Cruncher, and he's moved the rear bumper of Paul Radisich.
Well, Radisich just took that and said, see you later, buddy. And actually, Greg Murphy came off a little worse for wear out of that. But Radisich, I think, was just slowing him down, trying to make sure there was no room there. So Murph responded by way of giving him a friendly tap. The Iowa replay will show it. Radisich just slowing him right down, making sure there was no room for Murphy to slide down the inside. So he gets the retaliation. He gets pushed around just a little bit.
I tell you, there's no love lost between these two Kiwi guys. They want to be the #1 Kiwi star amongst all the legends of the Aussie touring car scene, and this is, of course, what the fans love. A couple of Kiwis having a ding-dong battle with a couple of great Aussie drivers right out in front. Johnny Bow, remember, in the Shell Falcon, still leads the field, followed by Neil Crompton. Now it's Radisich and Murphy. Murphy is the man making the move, though. He's already moved up from 6th to 5th. Can he get past Radisich?
Well, it's the same story. Craig Lowndes all over again. Craig Lowndes, the kick-ass kid in Australia all summer. Now they give the car to Greg Murphy for the New Zealand series while Lowndesy gets on. Here we go again. This is the view from Murph's eye view against Paul Radisich down to the hairpin. See the contact there on the back of the Pacifica Allied Movers Falcon, and you definitely see it there.
So a little bit of muscle and blood. That's, oh, look at this, the Shell Falcon almost sideways coming out of the chicane. And there they are. Ford first, Bow, Crompton, Radisich, Murphy, Seaton, Ingle, Gardner and Brock at the back of the field. That's a bit of a shock. But of course his car not quite on the pace this weekend. Huge crowd here hanging outside the Museum Hotel. Johnny Bow still holding on to that lead. And of course we've got Neil Crompton, but will the pressure go on Crompton as he tries to hold off the two Kiwis?
Well, I think the pressure's mostly between the Kiwis right now. Murphy versus Radisich. Looks like Crompton's getting a slight edge on these two while they're having this great fight. This is really the best race we've seen all day, as we see again the mobile car looming up on Radisich's back bumper.
It's the go-kart track with the go-kart drivers, all the guys with single-seater experience really using that to their advantage because there's just no racing room, there's just nowhere to pass. You've got to make your own room to pass. He's going to have a go down the inside. No, he has to look out wide. Radisich says, oh, not likely, mate. No way. Down the inside again. Look at Murphy. Down towards the chicane. This was where they had a big smash with the Trans Ams.
No,
who's got to find some room?
Not there, that's not the place to go through, I can tell you. Junior Johnson tried it there before Clinton. We saw what happened then. His arch rival Ashley Stitchbury got taken right into the fence. But boy, what a way to go. These guys are really hard at it. I can't believe he would have tried down the inside there. I think that's just really trying to intimidate Radisich. He knows there's no way to get through that chicane from that line. Take a look at this. Gets right up alongside of him. They've got a veer left. And Murphy getting just a little bit loose there as he gets on the brakes. At least he pulled back and gave him some room. That's a good thing.
Great move by Paul Radisich there. Breakneck speeds I talk about. You've got to have big ones to drive these things around the circuit. And they are pulling out all the stops now. Radisich in the very nicely prepared Allied Movers Ford Falcon, prepared by Ross and Jimmy Stone, the Kiwi guys who made a great name for themselves with Dick Johnson's team. Look at the braking move by Murphy, saying, okay, I know I haven't got the room there, so I'm going to give you the space, Paul, to carry on. That was good driving.
It was borderline stuff, you'd have to say as well. Here we are again, next lap, same problem, only this time they've got Neil Crompton to contend with as well. Murphy's trying it again down the inside. This time, can he make it stick? He's got through. Unbelievable stuff from the kid.
Sensational. Radicic is still right on his bumper as well. Fantastic on the streets of Wellington. And I tell you, this race has come alive now. Greg Murphy in the #1 Holden Commodore. Oh, what a move.
This place they used to call Wellington the Windy City. It's also known as Suit City. I tell you what, after stuff like this, look at this move. This is a V8 touring car town right now.
Just sensational. Murphy that time grabbed the inside line as Radicic got held up by Neil Crompton. And of course he had the outside line, Radicic, but Murphy grabbed that chance, booted that Commodore, and then got away and now has moved up to third spot. Radicic all over the rear of the Commodore now, trying to grab it back. So it's Bow still out in front, Crompton second, Murphy with the drive of the race. Sensational performance, Radicic in fourth. He really has turned it on for the local fans, Wayne Munro, on a track where you couldn't make any passes.
Well, Murphy, you couldn't ask any more out of the guy. He's really had his character tested this weekend with that crash in qualifying. Comes back from that, still goes hard at it, takes on everybody, even hassling Crompton right now as they go down towards the chicane. He's done a sensational job here.
And so is this guy here, John Bow. He's made it 2 from 2. Crompton second, Murphy gets up for third, and Paul Radicic coming home in fourth spot. So that really has made the Mobile Wellington Street Race Series comes alive as the Kiwi kid raises his fists. It's the superstar Aussie John Bow with another great performance out in front, followed by Crompton. But for the Kiwi fans, there it is. Murphy, I love you. John Bow first, Neil Crompton second, Murphy third, Paul Radicic fourth, but it means the winner between Bow and Murphy of the third race will win the overall Mobile Series both in Pukekohe and Auckland. So it's all on for that final showdown. Rounding out the rest of the top 8 in the grid, Glenn Seaton 5th, Russell Engel 6th, Brock 7th, followed by Gardner.
And I was there and I touched him, but everything was okay. And then he went a bit narrow the last time, and I got up underneath him, and I was alongside him that time, and I wasn't going to let him go, so it was bloody good.
Here's the starting grid for the third and final showdown with the V8 Supercars today. John Bow from position #1, alongside him Neil Crompton, the way they've started all day. But check this out, the way they start up for race 3 from position #3, it's Greg Murphy, the superstar Kiwi in that Mobile Holden Racing Team Commodore, and Paul Radicic from position 4. The two Kiwis doing a great job in these Aussie V8s. Glenn Seaton also right up there too in position 5, alongside him Russell Engel. Then it's Brock Gardner, followed by on the next row of the grid we've got Dick Johnson, Tony Longhurst, and remember Alan Jones sitting out this race because of the car. They've got a problem with the Falcon. They can't get it back on the track. And unlucky Larry Perkins, who kissed the old tyre wall at the start of that first chicane, dropped all the way back to position #12 for the third and final showdown. So the point situation going into this race, the grand finale of 2 weeks of great motor racing in Auckland and also in Wellington. It's Greg Murphy on 86 points, John Bow 82. They get the green light. Murphy's from position 3. Crompton doing a great job out wide. Bow through the chicane. Crompton, Murphy, good clean start. As Brock got pushed out onto the wall, followed by Longhurst. They're going down towards Cable Street now. And if Murphy can pass Crompton, he'll win the series. That's the overall challenge for this race. Race #3. Oh, and there's a big smash. And that's Peter Brock. He's into the wall in the 05 Commodore after a kiss with Tony Longhurst.
What a huge accident that was. Take a look at this. This is the Iowa replay down in Cable Street. In the background, you'll see the smoke and the dust come up as Brock goes headlong into the wall. There's a kink in Cable Street right there. These guys are on full noise for about 500-600 metres. There's Longhurst's car down at the runoff and looking back up Cable Street again, just checking Brocky's car out, but that was a huge shunt.
That was
Peter, you're back in the pits. What happened?
Wayne Gardner hit me very hard on the left-hand side going down there. I don't quite know whether he had a mechanical problem or not, but he hit me very hard and just spun me around. And I actually was turning right into the... he sort of hit the side of a car, turned me right into the arm car, so I hit that pretty hard and then spun down the track.
And of course it wasn't actually Wayne Gardner. I think it might have been Tony Longhurst, but it was just a red flash that Peter Brock saw that time, as the marshals have done a fantastic job over the weekend repairing the track. As we take a look again on the replay, and you can see that Gardner's gone through already, and it's Tony Longhurst there. And look at that wheel. The wheel sticking right out there, straight into Brocky, straight into the wall. So it looks like Tony Longhurst might have had a mechanical problem.
Tony, what happened?
You're not going to believe this. I changed into fourth gear, running down towards the braking area, and the throttle broke and jammed flat out. I was fighting the car for my life, and my recollection, I would have swerved across. As I'm on the brakes trying to pull it up, the car was just out of control. I must have clipped Peter, and that was his accident. Then I'm trying to turn the throttle off while I'm braking, and geez, it all happened so quick.
You don't want to be a passenger on the Wellington streets?
Definitely not. It bit me twice now, but I was just so lucky then. Unbelievable. I never had a throttle brake, and just jammed wide open.
So there you have it, eh? A broken throttle and Tony Longhurst into Brock into the walls of Wellington. That's why this circuit is so demanding. They get the green light now for the restart. Bow down to the chicane. Crompton a good start. Murphy right on his bumper, followed by Radicic, Engel, and the rest of the V8 Super Train.
Hey, they all got away clean this time. That's the first clean start we've had with no problems. But look at Murphy, right on Crompton already, and that's going to be the story of this race. Can he get through as he pulled those passing moves, got by a couple in the last race? Now he's got to try and get past Crompton to try and get up with Bow down at this point of the track. That's just not possible, Greggy.
That's youthful enthusiasm, I think, from the 24-year-old from Havelock North and Hastings, New Zealand, already having a look down the inside. He just has to pass Neil Crompton to take the series from John Bow, but look at that. It's far too soon. Sport on the streets of Wellington with the Mobile Wellington Street Race, and it's the boy from Bathurst, Greg Murphy, driving by the seat of his pants, the 24-year-old, having a look down the inside of Neil Crompton as they go into the hairpin. Can he take him? He's done it! He's done it! Greg Murphy has moved up to second.
Yeah, well, you can forget the Mack attack. That's the Murphy attack, and Crompton just got moved.
Sensational stuff. And look at Radicic all over the rear of Crompton and having a look down the inside as well. On the Iowa replay, and it's Crompton who's moving out wide. Murphy has a good look down the inside, and he goes round the corner, grabs second spot, and that set up the series for the Kiwi. And look at Radicic now.
Radicic really wants to be getting by Crompton. He needs to be getting on with the job, and I think he's seen Murphy make the move. He knows that Crompton can be taken, no problem about that. It's just a matter of lining him up somewhere. So maybe down the hairpin this time, but Radicic now very keen to be getting on with the job.
And you could hear the crowd cheering, smoking it up, Neil Crompton. But you could hear the crowds cheering as the Kiwi got up there into second spot. Great drive here from Paul Radicic. Remember, he races a 300 horsepower, 2-litre front-wheel drive Ford Mondeo in the British Touring Car Championships. He's heading back there for another crack at that. But now at the moment he's got a big 5-litre, 600 horsepower Aussie monster driven by the rear wheels.
And check this out, this is the view from Greg Murphy, and this time Johnny Bow has some company. So JB has been able to get away out front of this field the last two races, but this time he's got these guys hard on his hammer, and Radicic is through. He's got through on Crompton into the third place.
So it's a brilliant showdown now with race 3. John Bow, Greg Murphy, this is for the championship. This is for the overall Mobile Auckland Sprints of the Mobile Wellington Street Race victory, and the winner, John Bow, the Australian. 2 from 2 so far. Holding on. Will the Dunlops hold on? Or will the Bridgestones give the Holden the advantage like they've done right throughout 96? Oh, he's gone wide through the chicane.
What a move by poor old JB. Really just got carried a little bit too wide there and got caught up on that chicane that Dickie Johnson, his team boss, ploughed straight through in the last race, the earlier race, but Murphy unable to make it capitalise because of the tightness of the circuit in this area.
Look at the Iowa replay there, and John Bowen. Great skills by Murphy to actually avoid any carnage of the cars, because there's been plenty of carnage on this track this weekend. Look at this. Down the inside, he's having another look. Incredible. John Bowen, the Falcon, says, hold on, Kiwi. You're not going to pass me now. I'm still the boss here.
And just a little bit of a touch between the two guys there as they career down on this fairly frightening part of the circuit with walls right around it, a very narrow chicane. No problem to these guys. This is great racing.
And this is what the crowd have come to see. Around about 60,000 over the 3 days. All the merchandising has been sold out. It's a sellout crowd and a sellout performance behind the wheel by these two top drivers. John Bowen for the Shell Falcon, and you got Greg Murphy lurking like Jaws 3 in that Mobile Commodore. He's already moved up to second spot, so he's grabbed the series. And I suppose everyone is saying, just hold on, Greg, don't stuff it into the wall.
This is the frightening time for the Kiwi fans, I can tell you, because they want their boy to succeed, but they don't want him to succeed. They don't want him to rather biff it in the wall while he tries to go past Johnny Bowen. Not here, Greg. No, don't try it here. There is no way through on this tight waterfront circuit around that part. But down here to the hairpin, I reckon, is where he's going to have another go. Trying down the inside, and he's done it. Just like that.
Greg Murphy, brilliant. He's taken the lead, and look at the crowd. They've got up. Murphy, the #1 Kiwi superstar in the #1 Commodore. He's grabbed the lead after a brilliant drive by John Bowen all day. So the Kiwi and the Aussie V8 has done it. Look at this on the Iowa replay. Great skills too by John Bowen to give him racing room, because he knows his tyres are going off. And the Kiwi, well, he's grabbed first spot. And look at that crowd. They've gone off too. Sensational.
And Radicic now trying to line up Johnny Bowen as well. Yeah, Bowen's in tyre troubles. He did say that the Dunlops, I mean, he was able to conserve them earlier on during the day in those two races by getting a good break out front. This time he's really having to fight hard, and they've definitely lost their edge. And Murphy cruising away out front, blasting away is more like it, but getting a good break now already on JB.
One of the two psycho kids, of course, Craig Lowndes. Oh, look at the sideways twitching there, the big Falcon of John Bowen. Was Paul Radicic lines him up now, of course. But Greg Murphy and Craig Lowndes really have thrown the Australian Touring Car Championships wide open. The fans love them. They do a great job. They love their racing. They show plenty of emotion. Plenty of emotion too as the big Falcons now line up the hairpin. And Paul Radicic, the other Kiwi and the other Aussie. He's gone. There's a big showdown there too. But it's Radicic who's up to second. So it's a Kiwi 1-2.
Major traffic jam in Jervois Key, just like there is every Friday and Saturday, every Friday and every rush hour morning. Watch this. Here we go with the move. Down comes Radicic. Johnny Bowen goes down to third spot. And wait what happens behind this. There's Neil Crompton caught up there. The other guys all jammed in behind, and it's Glenn Seaton who comes out of that ruck the best, right on Bowen's case.
And he's got the big Falcon up on two wheels. I saw it in full flight at the end of Conrod Straight at Bathurst when David Parsons had the big lose. Great shots there on board. Glenn Seaton, whoa, he's just about done a three-point turn. John Bowen, can he hold on to third spot? Great showdown towards the chicane. Two Falcons side by side, but Glenn Seaton says, no, my Bridgestones have got the rubber on your Dunlop at this stage. So, Mr. Smooth, Glenn Seaton, he's driven a great race here in the Falcon. He's up to third spot.
Well, Seaton, one of the fastest men on the track in this race, actually quicker than Greg Murphy so far. So, yeah, he's thrown down the gauntlet, but too late. Here we go with his move on John Bowen down at the hairpin. This is the favourite passing place, and there are not many of them, I can tell you, around the Wellington Street Circuit.
And you've got to take your head off to Johnny Bowen, because he knows it's very hard to pass around here. He could have taken the inside line around those hairpins all day and stopped it and caused a bit of carnage, but he knew his rubber was going off. And so he gave the other guys a bit of racing room, and it's really made a fantastic race. Race 3, and the result the Kiwi fans have come to see. You're on board the #1 Mobile Holden Racing Team Commodore with Greg Murphy at the wheel. He's won Bathurst, he's won Pukekohe. Now he's on target to win the Mobile Motor Race Series in Pukekohe in Auckland and Wellington, New Zealand.
Well, you couldn't write a better script than this, Clint, if you tried. The guy comes to Pukekohe, makes the clean sweep. He races it, he qualifies in Wellington, down the back a bit, having had a buff in practice. Then he comes out, finishes the day off with this great passing moves that we've seen in the earlier races, a great contest with his countrymen, and winning the last race. What a sensational deal.
Well, he hasn't won it yet. Just hold on to your hat, don't get too carried away. But of course, we've seen a great performance here by the Falcons of Paul Radisich and their Glenn Seaton, John Bell. What a drive he's had this weekend. But here is the man, Greg Murphy, in the #1. There he is behind the wheel, doing a very professional job. And of course, the word is, with this performance, he could actually take over that position from Craig Lowndes next year for the Australian Touring Car Championships for that V8 Supercar Series on Network 10 in Australia, which is going to be fantastic too for the Aussie fans. Last lap around the walls of Wellington, and I tell you, they're going off because this guy has really turned it on in those great Aussie V8s. A great drive by our two touring car superstars, Greg Murphy and Paul Radisich. But it's been great to see these guys taking on the best from Australasia. Thunder down under, Wayne Munro. Super stuff as Greg Murphy comes down for the last time. And he's got to do it. He's got to take the checkered flag. The crowd's got up. Brilliant stuff by the Kiwi, the boy from Bathurst. He's won Bathurst, he's won Pukekohe, now Wellington. He's going off. Great stuff. And so too are the super team of the Australian Touring Car Championships, the Mobile Holden Racing Team. Greg
I think
Murphy.
you'd say he's a happy man, Clint. Look at this guy. What a fantastic thing to happen. Young man of 24 years of age. What a homecoming. Look at the crowd, just love him. He is the new sensation of New Zealand sport right now.
I know if you're watching on Network 10 in Australia, you'll be disappointed to see a Kiwi beating the Aussies. But I tell you what, we love to see the Aussies over here in New Zealand. We love to see the battle between the Fords and the Holdens. And we love to see a couple of Kiwi boys behind the wheel of your great cars to give us a great homecoming victory, because it means we're going to be seeing more of this over the next 5 years as he rips the rubber. Yes, great stuff. Greg Murphy, Paul Radisich, John Bell. And look at that. The crowds have gone up to this new star of New Zealand motorsport. Murphy, I love you. And Wayne, we haven't seen scenes like this since Peter Brock did the double back in 86 and 87.
Exactly right. I think this is probably the single best of these Wellington Street races that there's ever been. Sensational stuff from the kid. I mean, what more could you ask for?
Congratulations there from Neil Crompton. Raises his
motor race I've ever seen.
yes.
I can't believe these people. Everywhere. It's like hard to concentrate. They were just amazing.
So a top drive there by the #1 man in the #1 car. Greg Murphy wraps up the Mobile Series for the Mobile Holden Racing Team Commodore. Of course, Paul Radisich, the Kiwi, coming home for the 1-2 in this race. Glenn Seaton third. John Bauer, fantastic drive over the weekend. He won the first 2 races. The tyres just didn't quite hold on for the third. Crompton, Gardner, Perkins, Johnson. That rounds up the top 8. A top weekend with the V8 supercars from Aussie, and they'll be back next year. Of course, that's the exciting news when they feel the need for more speed around the walls of Wellington.